away the politicians and other people who had no business being around the polling units. In Kano, there have been, we spoke to the Deputy Inspector General of Police, who is in charge of Kano for this supplementary election, and he acknowledged that there were, but that the police had,
on top of
yes, they had contained virtually everything. What are the reports you are hearing from elsewhere?
Yeah, it's pretty much so. And in Benue, we had a few skirmishes.
Yes, the 13,000 votes, voting materials burned.
Kano was major in a sense, like what you have had. And I think most other places are relatively quiet because they are small. You know, so that's. I think on the whole, it's just that one incident like that, which is very gory, just smears everything else, and really is clearly avoidable. So those are the issues that
many people will ask you. Many people will take you. You know, they want you to further explain what you mentioned about that we can't have supplementary after supplementary.
Yeah.
Because then it brings up the issue that, okay, if my opponent, if I'm able to disrupt the election at this stage in my opponent's stronghold, knowing fully well that there can't be another supplementary after this supplementary.
I've achieved my aim.
I've achieved the aim of removing his votes from the tally.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I mean, if that is the motive of the person, yeah. But you see, we don't read motives. We deal with incidents as they occur. And we have no provision. The legal procedure allows us to a provision where then it will be supplementary ad infinitum. When does it end? There'll be fourth stage supplementary until it becomes ridiculous and stuff. So we don't have provision for so there will be none. So we'll find a way to patch it up. I mean, like, look at this thing was disrupted, was violent. You must not reward violence. But the issue of going to find out, was that violence caused by one political party that is weak in the place? So we begin to do party strength analysis, whether it is weak in this particular situation, and then to lay the blame. That is not INEC job, to lay the blame against particular party. We are not umpire now. We're not looking to blame parties.
Yeah, so. But Dr. Lecky, you look at the process, I mean, today, and you looked at the process since February. As a commission, what do you think you could do better going into 2023? I know Ladi has said we should talk about today, but it is the process that makes us sit down and talk about the way we're talking about it. From what you've seen, what can the commission do better?
You know, the last time I was on, I think it was one of your events, Ladi gave me a few more minutes. Say, yeah, I want to give you a few minutes to talk details about things going forward. And I think going forward is actually the thing. Major radical changes need to happen. We can't continue like this. INEC need to become smaller, mean, and lean, devoid of doing some of these things that INEC does. And then the legal framework needs to change radically, and we need technology big time in our election. I'm not saying that people will stay in their house and begin to remote control, you know, vote. There are many other things that we can do. You know, I've visited a number of countries to look at the election. I went to Brazil. They just did the election, I think it was in October or something like that. I was there, and within 3 hours of closure of poll in the farthest part, which is the western part of Brazil, election results are out within 3 hours. I mean, I'm sure there are places it's a huge country, and also it's not all completely developed to that extent that you said there's electricity everywhere. So I think we need to, one thing I think I would like to see the INEC will do with the new incoming night is that as soon as they form their committee, both in the House and the Senate, we see that with INEC and jointly understudy 2 or 3 other EMBs. I would highly recommend that Brazil is one of those. We really visit and see what they do. You know, they also do, you know, political party funding. In Brazil, they do it quite well. When I was in Brazil, the American chairman equivalent of INEC, you know, chairman of INEC, was there in Brazil to also say, well, she was there most to study the financing, you know, of election in Brazil, which they've gotten down very well, even to the last day of election. But if it lasts the election, they already know how much each party is spending because they're funding them. And I think they got a good handle. It's not running out of hand at all.
Talking about that funding, remember, you talked about that.
Try to have a better angle on how to go forward with our election.
Talking about funding, remember INEC was supposed to monitor, you know, what the parties were spending. And this is something I asked Mr. Okoye, and he chuckled before he responded.
Yes.
You know, so how did that go?
I should chuckle too. Before I respond, you know, Okoye is, yeah.
How did it go?
Well, it's usually something we do. It's not something we are doing now. I mean, like concurrently as the election is going on. Something we'll go back and try to, we have a format, you know, their advertisement, their books, their statement of accounts and stuff like that. And this is as good as they are willing to be open to INEC, you know. So in most cases, what we do, Like, I think the last one we did, which is actually a yearly thing, you know, we do was probably data we have prior to 2014 or something like that. You see a lot of holes of people that NA not available. We've gone there many times. So it's not serious. But there needs to be penalty.
But as a regulator, you're supposed to be able to penalize them.
Yeah, but you know how much it's not there. How do we penalize them? Like, deregister them? You know, and you know, to deregister is a very difficult thing in Nigeria. But deregister finally, they came back, you know, through the court, and all of them are back on. So what do we really have? You need to help us. Nigeria needs to help us to give more powers, to INEC in terms of issue of culpability and punishment and so on.
Dr. Lecky, I'll refer to what Dr. Ginaldo said when he sat here. He said the political class is determined to scuttle the regulator's efforts to strengthen itself. So INEC's efforts to strengthen its powers to be able to regulate the political space is somewhat scuttled by the politicians themselves. Now, there are those who will say, does that then mean that our polity continues to deteriorate because INEC is unable to prosecute those that they need to prosecute or to regulate the system? How do we leave this point?
Yeah, I think it is right, and I think we're seeing deterioration instead of qualitative improvement. You know, when we think that we have taken one step, we seem to have taken several steps. You know, we're backward. Until now, I don't know. We need to have a major conversation. But there need to be more stringent punishment. You know, for things that happen in the political space. The politicians are always. I mean, look at this issue of vote buying. I mean, that's just a new thing that started a couple of years or so. You know, where it goes. It's not always been there in the major way in which it's become a big factor. Before, it used to be this snatching and relaying of materials and stuff like that. Although some of that is still there. But it's all orchestrated by the politicians. Why they won't just campaign for and canvass for vote and wait and see those votes as a referendum in terms of what they have performed? It beholds me. You know, it's beyond my, you know,
do they even operate by INEC's guidelines for this election?
No, I don't think, well, I don't want to say they don't, but I think it's more of looking for a way to subvert the guidelines. That's what we say. Instead of playing by the rules, why do you have thugs? Why do you have to go to a polling unit as a big man, a big politician, with military people, your escort following you? We have said you can't do that, but we see it still happening. Yeah. I mean, that is clear madness, subversion.
But when you
doesn't mean you didn't read or you have not heard. It's just willful disobedience. It's just impunity taken too far across many areas, many persons. And we are all responsible. Why this impunity? Why is it endless? People do what they want to do.
Okay, please go on.
Carry on, Lady.
You talked about taking away some of the functions that INEC is currently saddled with, and then empowering it to do those that it is left with more effectively.
Yes.
If you were to disaggregate those and then identify which ones you think INEC should be left with, and maybe to take Ijeoma's language and say, so we leave INEC with these ones and then we outsource these ones, or other people are saddled with these ones, what would those be?
Well, clearly, the issue of political parties registration, it should be done by a different person entirely, you know. And then the issue, but I think the issue of voter registration, conducting the election, those are core EMB functions. The issue of prosecuting these people who are so many across the space, and the corruption and the infractions goes across so many. I mean, unfortunately, even though I'm with you guys, it's in the media too. Every sector is culpable. And so they should find another mechanism or institution that deals with that and not INEC.
What about transportation of materials?
Yeah, even that one, I think we can have a sort of a joint, arrangement of doing transportation. In some countries, it is done by government. Why can't we do that? Because mistrust. Because there's this thing about...
When you say government, you're talking about lower governments, like lower or state governments. Because I remember speaking to the INEC chairman, and he said, for example, the INEC, the equivalent of INEC in America doesn't conduct any elections.
No, they don't.
They only look after campaign finance. They look for campaign finance.
That's what they don't declare results.
But here, he also pointed out that, here, the state independent electoral commissions conduct elections that all have the same result.
Yes.
Again, because of an entirely different structural problem.
Yes, but you guys are not beaming light on the two different. Everybody just thinks INEC does everything. I mean, the results and the work of the State Independent Electoral Commission is something, I don't want to pass judgment on it, so that because we are on public, television, but you need to look at it. It is not. I mean, they are done at the whims of the governor in terms of funding and results. You hardly have any opposition. Everything is a clean slate and stuff like that. So, and I think that INEC we can be left with a few core things that we can do very well. The election is managing the election dates and stuff like that.
Cleaning up the
voter register. And these are major things. Our voter register is not the best. It can use some further work. And then the technology in election, all those sort of things, which takes a lot of doing.
But a lot of people think that INEC only wakes up in election year. You have 4 years.
Yeah.
So they feel, the first 3 years as a law, we don't hear much. We don't know what is going on. That's not to say you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But you're not
and that you wake up in election year.
You're not asking us what we are doing between elections.
And then, because when they see the way the election is then executed, they feel it's clear nothing happened in the first 3 years.
Yeah. It is not our fault. Everybody, I tell you what, this is what, March, April. By May, you won't be talking to me. You will be calling the... Lady will not see the chairman of INEC for another 2 or 3 years. You don't care. So I'm not the one setting the tempo. Why you're not engaging continuously for serious issues that remain unfinished business? There are a lot of unfinished business. Some of them are from our observer, both domestic and international. The books are there. They're on our website. You look at them and say, how far are you with it? And continue to need it and follow it. Nobody follows. It's only when we have this election, you are interested in us, and then we show up.
We're always interested.
We're not the only ones
we're always
interested at this point. Everybody's interested.
Everybody's interested. But
taking that a bit further.
Yes.
All the elections ought to, about now, be rounding up or handed up.
Yes.
At least the ones of today.
Yes.
How quickly do you think this process, can be concluded, and then how is it going to work anyway? Because people have asked the question, okay, fine, this one's are smaller elections. When this is collated, what happens with the ones already previously collated? How is the
adding?
Yes, the adding done, and where is it going to be done, and by who?
No, you should look at it as a continuous process. So you get to a point where you take a break because you are waiting for that result to come. You do that anyway.
Indeed.
Sometimes you stay till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. You are waiting for local government to come up and make their return. That's exactly the way to look at it, the simple way to look at it. So the collation center will be reactivated. It will be reactivated so they will know where we are and say, okay, in terms of governorship election, X number of LGAs have submitted up to this point. So we've done supplementary now. We're waiting for these LGAs to submit. So they will come with their,
this will be in one place.
In one place. Okay. They come and then begin. You see the board. You will see where we stopped last time.
Some of our correspondents already pointed out that this time there are no racks. So once the announcements are made at the polling units, from there they go straight to the state. In the case of the governorships, for example, in some of the states, do they go straight to the state collation center?
Our collations, center, those one for the wards and the local government will still be operating.
So they will go through all
they will go through all that. They will, because it could be very small, but because that is the process, we can't skip any process because we have forms that must be completed for each level. So those forms must be completed and taken to the next level.
Another thing, people talk about multiple forms. E30.
Yeah, it's because we created this area, because we have constituency at RA level. At the ward level, that's where our House of Assembly, State House of Assembly people are elected, within local government. And so there must be declaration of results for people to be elected at the ward level.
At that level.
So that's why we have those structures.
So would it be correct to then say that, therefore, it would be wrong to say that the results will be announced very speedily, since we still have to observe the protocol and indeed the framework that has already been established. So it's not a question of just adding this.
I think it will be speedy in the sense that not many RAs will be involved, few. And there are also not many polling units to be involved. So really submitting the forms and adding them up is quick. It will be speedy, and I expect that they'll be concluded. There will be nothing carried over like tomorrow or something like that, except for the the
bigger ones,
that have many more local government spread, for the purpose of the governorship election. For the ones that are just State House of Assembly, those will be concluded speedily, at the RA levels.
Okay. Indeed, Dr. Mustafa Lecky, it's been our pleasure having you face to face.
Thank you.
Face to face with us in the studios here in Lagos. We usually talk to you from the calm of Abuja.
So we can now personally rattle you now.
Yes,
you're here.
yes.
Thank you for coming in and for joining us. Indeed, the conversation you've mentioned, we will start.
Please, we're looking forward. We're looking forward to it.
We hope we have the pleasure of your company when we do start such conversations.
Okay, we look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
We'll take a break at this point on coverage of the supplementary election.
On this belt, yes.
On this belt, we'll take a break because at the top of the hour, we'll bring you news track followed by poll stream, and then thereafter, we'll be back to continue. So please stay on with us.
Yes, we'll see you in a bit.